So I feel like I should start this off with a collection of facts about myself. Growing up, I've always been a huge rap fan. I loved, back in the day, like Dr. Dre, Jay-Z, 50 Cent even. And then, you know, as time went on, it became very obvious to see who was the greatest rapper, the greatest lyricist, the greatest with wordplay, flow, had the most original, recognizable, standout beats in the game, and that was Marshall Mathers, also known as Eminem. Eminem Show, Marshall Mathers LP, Slim Shady LP, they all had something very unique about them, a different type of fire that they all carried. But when it got to Relapse, that's when things started to fall apart. Even Encore was good, but Relapse marked the end of an era. Now, I will say that after that, he did release Recovery, which is my favorite album in his entire repertoire, but that was a fluke because the Marshall Mathers LP 2 and Revival. Oh, Revival. Little story about Revival. Revival came out December 15th, 2017. You know what else came out December 15th, 2017? Star Wars The Last Jedi. So I'm listening to this trash Eminem album on my way to go watch this trash Star Wars movie. That was just a bad day for me. But the story of his new album, Kamikaze, which came out completely out of nowhere yesterday. Marshall had been teasing that he had a song on the Venom soundtrack. You know, everybody's really excited about that movie. Either they think it's going to be good or they think it's going to be trash. I'm right there with it's going to be good. He was teasing that he had a song. It was like, oh, you guys are going to get to hear it. Bam, an entire album. So let's talk for a second about this Kamikaze album. One thing that Marshall's always been known for is the way he can just throw some words together, create a line that will stick out in your head. He's such a fantastic lyricist. His wordplay is unparalleled, and that doesn't change in this. I was listening to the entire album this morning. Every song had at least 3 or 4 moments where I'd hear a line and be like, you know what, that's actually really clever. Because one of the things that I think made Revival such a bad album is that Marshall's gotten so old. He's gotten to a different point in his life than he was when he started. He doesn't have that same rage, that same fire inside of him anymore. He can't use that anger as a weapon to fuel his own lyrics these days. You know, he's got money now. He's out of the ghetto. He's out of Michigan. He's in LA living his best life. He's doing a great job for himself. But he didn't have to use anger from that. He doesn't even have to use anger at all. He can write a good song without having to use some sort of passionate fuel. But Revival was such a widely hated album and so panned by fans and critics alike that gave him all the fire he needed, because Marshall is back with a vengeance, you guys. He comes after every mumble rapper you can think of. Not even just mumble rappers, but rappers that actually say words like Tyler the Creator. This man was so offended that people that listen to Gucci Gang on repeat for an hour think that Eminem had lost his touch. And I've heard it around that people are like, oh, this album is just diss tracks. It's cool to listen through it one time, but you're never really going to care after that. I don't think that's necessarily true. Sure, a lot of these songs are devoted to dissing, like Fall and Kamikaze itself. But there's songs that come from the heart, like Lucky You and Stepping Stone. Those 2 tracks, in my opinion, stand out the absolute most because he's coming from a real place. In Stepping Stone, he's like, you know, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've lost some friends that I cared about. My D12 guys, we just don't hang out like we used to. Those days are gone and we just can't do that anymore. And then in Lucky You, it's like, I've come from this to become this, and I can't seem to be making you guys happy. I don't have what I want, and you guys don't get what you want. Oh well, that's the world we live in. And then of course there's Venom, which I've been listening to over and over again. I love that song. I hated it at first, it sounded stupid, but I listened to it a good 7 or 8 times, and I was listening to it on repeat for the last like 48 hours. Like, that song is pretty good. I just realized I said I've been listening to it longer than it's been out, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. I've been listening to it since it dropped, and I love it. Guys, in the end, as long as Eminem has something to say in his music, not like Revival where he's just spouting nonsense that's supposed to be politically charged, he's not the guy for that. Marshall's strengths come from calling out his haters, insulting other people that are in the game, making fun of the status quo, challenging what music is at any given moment. He used to jump on a track with the greatest rapper at the time and embarrass them on their own song, just to prove that he was truly the best. He doesn't do that anymore, but now he doesn't need to. He'll bring on somebody that he actually has respect for. In one of the songs, I can't remember exactly which one it is, but he calls out a couple of artists that he actually has respect for, artists that aren't destroying the good name of rap. and it's pretty refreshing. In the end, I don't really have a rating system for music, but if I was to try to come up with one, I'd say Eminem's Kamikaze is definitely worth listening to on long play, which is start to finish, because this is the only album that's come out in a long time where I've just listened straight through, haven't checked to see how many songs there were left, haven't skipped, haven't hit shuffle, I just listened to it. But that's just my opinion from a guy who listens to French music. So, Eminem's Revival, have you listened to it? What did you think about it? Whatever you think, whatever you feel, comment below and educate me. And if you want more videos from me, well, I don't imagine why you'd want to do that, but all you gotta do is click right here.